Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live show. Manchester United therapy is back at it again for the 17th time this season, because we've lost 17 games this season. The most I think we've lost in a very, very long time. And I'm not gonna lie, this game broke me. That game last night broke me. I just think, losing it in the last 90 seconds like that, especially because we conceded in the 99th minute versus Brentford, and we've conceded in 90 plus 10 today and 90 plus 11 last night and 90 plus 10 last night. To end like that, the defending at the end. And the worst part is we're going to talk about Ten Hag and his future in a second, because there are reports saying that INEOS have already made the decision, but then there are other reports saying that Ten Hag will probably be fine. There's a lot of mixing reports, but majority reports are coming out today saying that INEOS are going to sack Ten Hag. But are they saying INEOS is going to sack Ten Hag because we've lost to Chelsea and that's just an easy report to write? I don't think that they know information. I just think if we'd won last night, they'd have said INEOS back Ten Hag. I think if we lost last night, they'd have said INEOS sacked Ten Hag. I think a lot of the reports, because they don't know loads and loads what's going on. But I do think, to be fair to Ten Hag, like, all 4 goals were individual errors, but it was an absolute mess last night. I can't lie to you guys. It's broken me. That game broke me. I didn't do a watch along because I was exhausted last night. Maybe I should have done a watch along because it was a really good game. But I think just how happy I was with Anthony and Garnacho going 3-2 up after going 2-0 down. And then for us to throw it away with crap defending in the last 2 minutes again, against Chelsea as well, the team that's probably worse than us, it is completely and utterly broken me. I'm not going to lie to you. This is the most upset I've been in a while. But I do want to get into the news as well. People are talking about Southgate. I'm going to clarify this now. The Southgate news is a load of BS. Anyone who's writing stories about Southgate is doing it for clicks. I know for a fact, and I will tell you this for a fact, INEOS like Southgate because they have a good relationship with him, with Brailsford and Dan Ashworth. But INEOS do not look at Southgate as a managerial contender. I know that. I spoke to someone, unless the person that's telling me this is just lying to me, and they're saying, well, they like Southgate, he is not on the list of manager contenders. And the Southgate news is used to create negativity, to get tricks, to draw fans in, to get interactions. INEOS might be looking at Nagelsmann, they might be looking at Tuchel, Potter, Amorim, De Zerbi, but they are not looking at Southgate. They're not looking at Gary O'Neill. I will tell you that now. Do not worry about getting Southgate. It's not worth worrying about. But I do want to get into reports on Ten Hag. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know Ten Hag's future's looking like. I'm not an expert. I don't know insight, but I will say this: when we beat Liverpool, people were coming out saying that INEOS want to back Ten Hag because they know the environment's the problem. When we lose to Chelsea, the same people are coming out saying INEOS have already decided to part ways. Every time we lose, we get loads of reports coming out saying that INEOS are going to sack Ten Hag or they've already decided to part ways. And then when we win, the same reports will say, oh, they back Ten Hag. I don't think anyone really knows what INEOS' decision is with Ten Hag. I think INEOS probably have a decision that's been made, and they've probably spoke to Omar Barada and they're thinking, this is what we're going to do. And I don't think what happens between now and the end of the season changes that. And I don't think people know what that decision is. So I think if we lose, they'll say he's going. If we win, they'll say he's staying, just to go with the media wave and ride the clicks. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. That's why in the title, I've said INEOS have decided to part ways with Ten Hag, but I've put reports/rumours, because this is just reports/rumours. I don't generally think they have. Maybe, I don't know. They might have, but it's not been officially confirmed that they have. So I want to clarify that as well. But let's get into reports as well. And Laurie Whitwell has just reported he's staying, so no one knows crap, has he? I'll check Laurie Whitwell's report out in a second. I think no one really knows anything as well. But yeah, let's have a look at this. So Miguel Delaney said this: the widespread feeling in football is that Manchester United have already made the decision to part ways with Erik Ten Hag this summer. And then the Mail said that INEOS has expressed dissatisfaction following subpar performances against Fulham and Brentford, placing Ten Hag's tenure on precious ground. Sources within Manchester United assert that the defeat against Chelsea was the tipping point, prompting INEOS to contemplate parting ways with Ten Hag. While those close to United believe INEOS have already decided to part ways with Ten Hag, a final decision is not expected till the end of the season. So there's a lot of reports, a lot of information, lots of things coming out suggesting that INEOS have basically decided to part ways with Ten Hag. Again, I think it is a bit of a guessing game. I don't think anyone knows. After watching the game last night, the Fulham game and the Brentford game, I'd understand it. But, the lack of control and everything, but I don't think anyone knows for sure. What planet are you on? Needing to control and dictate play and chase it. You bring on a headless chicken like McTominay. A weekend Hackney Marsh's boss knows that would be awful. I agree. I'm going to be honest. It's a mixture of people to blame. I think whenever we lose, there's always someone. People will cry over Onana, people will cry over Ten Hag, people will cry over Rashford, they'll cry over Bruno. But actually, when you look at the Chelsea defeat, there's a lot of problems. Ten Hag's substitutions got it wrong. Ten Hag's subs, he completely got it wrong. Garnacho was having a great game. He was working hard. Rashford wasn't very good when he came on. McTominay wasn't very good when he came on. Obviously, the other subs were forced through injury. Ten Hag got his subs wrong. But yes, we played completely open. Yes, it was a game where we had no control. It was an open game of basketball, and it was really entertaining. We were conceding 28 shots again, and that is on Ten Hag. But the goals we conceded were all individual player errors. Weirdly, Ten Hag subs weren't good and the structure weren't good, but we scored the goals, we attacked them. The goals we conceded were individual errors, 2 penalties and 2 cutbacks. 2 cutbacks where the players forgot to mark and close down their man, 2 deflections, 2 penalties. It's one of those where Chelsea didn't deserve to win, but I don't necessarily think that we also deserve to win. I think both of us were as good and bad as each other. And maybe had it been 3-3 and Parma didn't get that deflection at the end and it ended 3-3, I'd have been a bit upset, but I'd be like, look, at the end of the day, it's 3-3. I think it's the fact that we've conceded 2 goals in 90 seconds and lost in that manner. How many times this season, particularly in the Champions League, have we conceded 1 goal and another right after? It was so open, it seems to be a big problem. We will talk about that. I think there were so many issues. It's not, it's Rashford's fault. It's not, it's Ten Hag's fault. It's not, it's Dalot's fault. He gave away a penalty. It's actually, everyone had a bit of blame. I think everyone had a bit of blame. Ten Hag, the subs, individual errors. Anthony, I thought, had probably his best game in United shirt. He still gave away a silly penalty. And Dalot's been unbelievable this season. He gives away a silly penalty. Other than Garnacho, I think Garnacho did his job. I think everyone else did things. Even Højlund, his movement wasn't great at times. I think it was equally people to blame. I thought Johnny Evans was unbelievable when he was on the pitch for 20 minutes. And of course he comes off injured. Just our luck, because he was good as well. Poor Garnacho, he was at an inferno. Yeah, Garnacho works. So I thought Mainu had a good first half as well, but he looked knackered by the end as well. Very well said, Alice. Individual errors cost us, not completely blame Ten Hag. There's structural issues with Ten Hag, and there's a lot of things that Ten Hag is getting wrong this season. And I think the subs weren't great, but I think, as John said, he is trying to protect players for Liverpool. But ultimately, the players made so many errors. It's a mixture of people to blame. You can't blame one people. And I have to one person. I have to say, Johnny Evans was amazing when he came on, and he was injured. I wonder whether last night's made INEOS' minds up on Ten Hag, as there's no plan on the pitch, and his training methods have been constantly questioned due to injuries. I agree to an extent. I think there's probably some. This is where I question the reports, because the players complained about Ollie's training methods not being good enough. They complained about Jose's training methods not being good enough. They complained about Ragnick's training methods not being good enough. So when they complain about Ten Hag's training methods not being good enough, I'm almost like, shut up and get on with it to the players. But then at the same time, I'm also like, well, we are getting an abnormal amount of injuries. Obviously, games are longer. There's more games to the World Cup. It's I think that maybe Ten Hag could adapt his training methods a bit more. But these players have complained about every single manager's training method, which is another reason why he's awful as kind of yesterday was. I still wouldn't make sacking manager a priority, in my opinion. But I do think they could watch that game and think, you know what, we could sack that guy. They might think that. But again, I think the media was playing a guessing game. It was also said this about the Man United players, and I think this could be an indication of members of Manchester United were profoundly disheartened following the defeat against Chelsea, a match they believed they merited to win, only to have victory snatched away by individual errors in the closing moments. Several players were whatever that word means, overcome with emotion, with reports indicating tears and shock evident in the changing room and on the journey home. There's some reports that actually some Manchester United players were in tears on the way home and were absolutely devastated. Is that an indication that they think maybe Ten Hag's going? Because I actually do genuinely believe that, as much as these players complain and as much as they don't give 100%, I do genuinely believe that the majority of the squad is behind Ten Hag and wants Ten Hag to play. Could there be tears because they're disappointed in the loss? Could there be tears because, to be honest, I was probably in tears watching that match? I don't know if you were in tears. I think my head was gone watching that match. Some people saying, is it tears because they know that Ten Hag's going and they're upset? They cried when on his Watford game, and that was before he was sacked. I don't know, but there was tears. Someone said crocodile tears. I mean, I was in tears almost. I mean, I didn't do a watch along, but I was almost in tears. I generally think, like, I thought I'd detach myself from the season, and I think I got a little bit of hope after Liverpool win. So, like, when we've lost some games like Fulham this season, I was just like, whatever. Like, I'm upset, but whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, but that Chelsea game, that was a dagger. That was a Chelsea dagger. You know, that broke me. I can't lie. I was almost in tears. I was almost in tears yesterday after that as well. 60 likes, guys. Let's see if we can get 100 likes. Big up everybody in the chat as well. The worrying part since the international break is a number of players seem to not be given full effort, says Alex. I agree. You see the difference in mentality. Evans played under Sir Alex Ferguson. He knows what he needs to do and still does the work. Same with Garnacho and Maino have come up under Erik. Players need to go. I think it's some of the Ragnick, Jose, Van Gaal players that Ollie players that are definitely a problem. I want to highlight a few problems because I think it's not about blaming Ten Hag, but it's not about blaming individuals. I think there's players that aren't good enough. I think there's things Ten Hag is getting wrong. I think there's a multitude of people to blame, but I do think that this is worrying. Shots faced in 2024, 225. Arsenal faced 77 shots. Tottenham, who always concede goals and are hounded for being open, 98. We've conceded twice as many shots as Liverpool, Tottenham, Man City, Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? I mean, look, we have got 9 points on Brentford there. And Brentford outplayed us, which is worrying. Sheffield United, West Ham United. Like, look at the shots we've conceded in the Premier League in 2024. We've not had like a crazy hard run of fixtures. Those games would have been, you know, Wolves, Chelsea, Brentford. Brentford got 31. I mean, that's ridiculous how many shots we conceded in 2024. That is a very, very worrying statistic there. That is something that Ten Hag will definitely need to fix. However, we didn't lose because of the structure. We lost because of individual errors. And this was sort of my match reaction. And this is sort of how I broke down the game after the match. I said this, and this is sort of how I felt. And this is the problem. Another goal conceded from an unmarked player at a cutback. Goals were conceded in the 90th plus 9, 90 plus 10th, and 90 plus 11 minutes in our last 2 games, which we were leading in, which is 5 points dropped. Our inability to hold on and defending key moments is shocking. Our inability to see out games, defending key moments is shocking. We saw it in the Champions League. We've seen it lately today. More players come off injured, which is just a joke. 28 shots conceded, 109 in the last 4 games. Shocking set-piece defending. Individual errors resulted in all 4 goals, as well as bad setup contributing to general play. Bad setup contributes to general play, but it was individual errors that cost us all 4 goals, and then we concede right after again. And I said bog standard United performance. That how many times this season has a player come off injured, we've conceded, then conceded again, can't hold on to a lead, conceded 28 shots and conceded from a cutback. How many times that happened this season? That is like almost Man United standard this season. I think the most worrying thing about the season is that we make the same mistakes over and over again. We keep making the same mistakes over and over and not getting people at cutback, press completely ineffective, large spaces, conceding shots every time. Every time. And what about the plan? I mean, we've got a long-term plan, and hopefully we have a long-term plan. It feels like we're a long way off, but I think if we can get this summer right and we can get the right players out and the right players in, we could definitely get better on track next season. But I think last season, because we finished third and because we won the Carabao Cup, we almost felt like, okay, like we're back on track. And then we've just completely set back to like sort of the Ragnick era. And it's devastating at the moment. As much as I rate Casemiro, that was one of his worst matches for us. He was basically walking about. I agree. Casemiro, look, for me, I'll keep Varane. I'd take the Saudi money from Casemiro. I like Casemiro, and he was unbelievable for us last season. Unbelievable. And he was so important for our success last season. But Casemiro's legs have gone. Casemiro was walking. Casemiro could barely move. This is the Premier League. This is one of the most this is the most high intensity, most difficult league in football. In the Premier League in 2024, you've got to be able to run. And Casemiro cannot run anymore. Did you see him jog? Was it Jackson that went by him with a little effort? Casemiro, I'd take the money from Saudi. I generally would. He was absolutely dreadful. He was one of, if not arguably, the worst player on the pitch as well. He was absolutely shocking. And as I said, it's not just Casemiro's fault. There was 5 or 6 players that made errors and it were at fault. And I don't want to highlight one player, but I think right now, if Saudi came in with money for Casemiro, I'd take it. McTominay needs to go, Casemiro needs to go, Eriksen needs to go, Amrabat needs to go. We need 2, maybe 3 fresh midfielders coming in. I still think we're looking at centre-backs, we're looking at strikers, we're looking at right wingers, but I still think the midfield rebuild is the most important thing for Manchester United next season. I generally believe the midfield rebuild is the most important. I did say this. Well done, Anthony and Garnacho. Really impressed me. It's hard to stay positive after that, but we had a couple good individual performances, and the Johnny Evans cameo was great. And then, of course, he gets injured. Who got the assist for the first Garnacho goal, actually? That's got me thinking. No, Garnacho won the first goal. Dalot got an assist. Anthony got an assist. Garnacho got 2 goals. Bruno got it as well. Ten Hag did say post-match that our quality of football is high, which was comments that have been causing a few issues as well. The 7-0 against Liverpool last season will be repeated on Sunday. I don't think so. I think Ten Hag will defend a very defensive low block against Liverpool. Like we did in the home game, because he knows if we play how we normally play against Liverpool, and they'll just eat up the space we leave them and score 7 goals. I think Ten Hag will be quite passive against Liverpool as well. Maino does lack a bit of pace. Maino had a very good first half, but he did look knackered in the second half. Rashford was jogging around as well. He was, but Rashford's not a striker. At this rate, Coventry could beat us, and no disrespect to Coventry. Liverpool don't know. Okay, well, we're against them at Old Trafford, but depends on players. The worrying thing is Coventry beat Wolves. Wolves are a good side. Coventry could give us a game, and that is the worrying thing. We can't just sit there and say, oh, we've made the cup final. As much as I'd like to, Coventry could beat us. Coventry could give us a difficult game. Someone said bring Nagelsmann as soon as possible. The thing is, I do think we just don't have the players to play good football and play the way we want. That I think ultimately changing manager won't change as much as other people think. And I think ultimately the loss today was more on individual errors and players than Ten Hag. But I think a lot of losses this season have been on Ten Hag's stubbornness, his structure, all of that. I think Ten Hag could be doing better, and there's things Ten Hag needs to change. But at the same time, I also think the most important thing for me isn't about getting Nagelsmann. The most important thing for me is getting 10 players out and getting 7 players in, and making sure those players are the right signings, the right players, the perfect players, the players we need. That, for me, is the most important thing. Varane to injury prone, get rid. The thing is, Varane, out of all our centre-backs, has been available for the most games. Martinez has been available for the least, followed by Maguire, followed by Lindelof, followed by Evans, followed by Varane. Varane has been our centre-back that's been available for more games than any of our other centre-backs. So although he's not always reliable, if we bring in 2 good centre-backs, keep Varane and Martinez, Varane becomes 4th choice centre-back. You have to rely on Varane to start. You rely on Varane to be an option. That's when Varane can become reliable as well. Coventry game in 2 weeks, they'll be up for it. Coventry might fancy themselves as well. They might be up for it now. Salah could cause us problems. McAllister's the one to watch for the Liverpool game. I tell you that. He's been causing us issues. Varane has been one of our most fit defenders this season. Erik Ten Hag played him with a concussion. Let that sink in for a moment. Exactly. Do you know what? I have a bit of sympathy for Ten Hag after the Chelsea game. I know people will be ranting and raging Ten Hag out. And I felt after Brentford, I thought Brentford was massively on Ten Hag, because I think Ten Hag tactically got Brentford wrong. But I think when you look at Chelsea, Ten Hag lost 2 defenders to injury, had to make 2 substitutions because of injury, which just disrupts the team and momentum. I think that ultimately he can't help that the players have given away 2 silly penalties. He tells the players to get players at cutbacks and they can't get back. And maybe Ten Hag's system and the running required makes it more difficult for players to get back. But I don't think that Ten Hag, while we concede loads of shots and that is to do with structure and that's things that Ten Hag can change, I don't think Ten Hag was at fault for any of the goals today. It's not Ten Hag's fault we lost 2 players to injuries. We went 2-0 down and we played well and responded to go 3-2 up. It's one of those where I'm going to be completely honest with you, where Brentford was just a disgrace, and a lot of that was on Ten Hag because tactically it was a joke. Today was a game of basketball. We were so open, we lacked control, we lacked the ability to see out games. But a lot of it was just on individual errors rather than Ten Hag, in my general opinion, which is, a lot of people might disagree with that. Brentford and Chelsea points were vital. We should have been pushing for 5th, and now we're under threat. We'd have 5 more points. If games only had about 5 minutes of stoppage time instead of 10, we'd have 5 more points. We'd have 5 more points. We threw away Brentford with 1 minute to go. We threw away Chelsea in the last 2 minutes. We'd have 5 more points this season, and if we'd have won, let's say both those games ended 2 minutes earlier, and we've got 5 more points, and we'd have won those games. Versus Brentford, would have said it was a robbery. Versus Chelsea, would have said that game could have gone either way, but what a response, and we'd have been happy. We'd have been on 5 more points. We'd have been pushing Villa. We'd have pushed Tottenham. We've been dropping points. But ultimately now it looks like it's Europa League and Champions League sort of gone as well. Alex, what do you think about Turan from Nice? I watched him a bit last season. I was impressed. I haven't watched him as much this season. Apparently he's not been as good this season, but he's still a good player. I think Todibo would be the player from Nice that has caught my eye the most, but I haven't watched loads of Nice this season. I watched a bit more of them last season, weirdly. But yeah, Man United's defence has not been good, lost too many goals. The thing is, the individual performance of defenders has sort of been good, but I think the structure and organisation of defence has been a mess as well. Chelsea can pass you if they win in the weekend and they win their game in hand and we lose to Liverpool. Can they actually? Damn. Chelsea could go above us. Damn. These players have thrown manager under the bus and are doing the same again by making mistakes again and again. And that's why I have a bit of sympathy for Ten Hag. These are the same players that threw the last manager under the bus and the manager before that under the bus. But I do have sympathy for Ten Hag and other clubs catching us in sixth, and some players don't see up to the fight. The thing is, if we finish below sixth, that's worrying. Sixth Europa League, after how awful this season's been and the injuries, I'll take it. But when you're finishing 7th, 8th, 9th, that's when it becomes a disgrace. Like, 6th isn't good, but 6th means you just haven't been good enough and you've just missed off on Europe. 7th, 8th, 9th is for me shocking. And look, I'm not saying that Man United should not be finishing 6th. A club like Man United should be finishing 4th. A club like Man United should be top 2 every season. And if we finish 3rd, we should be disappointed. We'd celebrate 3rd place, which is a shame. You know, that's where we are. That's where we should be. But where we're at right now is we're sitting there thinking, we're worried we might not get 6th. Imagine someone said to you 10 years ago when we were winning title after title, 15 years ago now, that in 10, 15 years' time, we'd be worried that we might bottle 6th place. Imagine. Absolute disgrace. Absolutely shocking that. Absolutely embarrassing how the standards have dropped. Honestly, unbelievable. I can't get my head around that. I really can't as well. This is consistent with the players being demoralised. Happened ages ago. Once that happens, it's over, and they're going through the motions ever since. They don't have faith in Ten Hag. I think some of them do, but I do think we have a weak, fragile mentality in the squad. Varane and Evans injured, Lindelof and Leach as well. That's a problem. Maguire and Camboire are only fit centre backs. We might have to play McTominay or Casemiro centre back versus Liverpool if Camboire wasn't available. Camboire is going to have to step up, man. And I'm glad Camboire is getting minutes. I think he's a good player, but that's a lot of pressure for him to play versus Liverpool. If INEOS sack Ten Hag and replace him with Southgate, I will not watch a single Man United game. It will mean that the same players who've let down previous managers like Rashford get another chance, says Alex. Brutal. I mean, I'd still watch United if we got Southgate in, but I'd be absolutely devastated if we got Southgate in. I think I would have lost all confidence in the INEOS project. But I will tell you this for a fact. There's no way Southgate will be the next manager of United. I'm not worried about INEOS getting Southgate because I know that Southgate isn't a general managerial candidate to replace Ten Hag. Southgate will not be the next Man United manager. We don't need to worry about that as well. Does Man United ownership needs to be called out? The Glazers need to be called out, but the Glazers are sitting there on their billions that they've got from INEOS, and they're going to hide behind INEOS now. If things go wrong, they're going to hide behind INEOS now. They've got sport control, 100%. Structure's the most important thing we need. Darwin, Mkhitaryan, and Di Maria Blind all were bad at United. Were top 3 in their respective leagues. 100%. We ruin players because we don't sign the right players for the project. We don't sign players to play the style that we want to play. 100,000,000%. Structure's the most important thing. Structure, getting the deadwood out, getting the right players in, potentially the coach if things continue to go wrong. That's where I see United. We're on 114 likes. We've got nearly 500 watching, guys, so please do hit the like button. Kieran McKenna is being looked at, but I think if I was Manchester United, I would basically see what McKenna does next year in the Premier League. I'd give McKenna one more season, give him Premier League experience, assuming Ipswich go up, and then maybe go for McKenna in a year's time. I think McKenna would need another year before we go for him, because you've got to remember, the Man United players said that McKenna could only coach academy level and hounded McKenna out. The Man United players that hounded Ollie out, hounded Ragnick out, hounded Jose out, hounded McKenna out, saying, why is he coaching us? He should be a kids coach. McKenna's about to get back-to-back promotions, which is, I don't know if that's been done before in football, with an Ipswich squad that no one thought would even be top 10. Unbelievable. Alice, I don't think we will slide out the European places. I still see us getting 6th. I see us winning a few more points over Chelsea, and Chelsea have Spurs and Arsenal. Hopefully we do get at least in Europa League, but I'm going to show you what the players did to McKenna. I'm going to show you what our players did to McKenna here. Let me find it. Alice talks. See, I tweeted about this. McKenna. I tweeted about this a while ago, but yeah, this is it. I want to show you this tweet, and this is a little bit old, but I think this will highlight the player issues that we've had at Manchester United. So this is a tweet from December 4th. Million views, damn. I said, leagues say that half the dressing room want Ten Hag gone due to his strictness and stubbornness and intense training. That was obviously said, this is December. Interestingly, these same players wanted Ole gone, criticising his lack of intense training and being too nice. So players want Ten Hag gone for being strict and training being too intense. Players wanted Ole gone because training isn't intense enough and he's too nice. These are the same Man United players who mocked McKenna's coaching abilities and suggested he should be an academy coach and tried to get him sacked. McKenna, who's now succeeding at Ipswich. They also had issues with Rangnick spreading leaks about him being a nobody and refusing to listen to him because he's not proven elite coach. And after he exposed the toxic mentality, some players, Lingard and Martial, went on social media and publicly labelled Rangnick a liar. These players previously fell out with Jose Mourinho. Despite managerial faults, because Ten Hag is not perfect, a consistent pattern emerges. The players giving up when faced with challenges and leaking information. Matic called out the unprofessionalism in the Manchester United dressing room in a recent interview. That was that week. While Ten Hag's tactics and man management are currently subpar, sacking another manager won't solve the underlying issues, as players may complain about the next model. And this was obviously what Matic said. Matic also claims that he was the head of an internal disciplinary committee during his 5 seasons at Old Trafford, which was set up to improve standards inside the Man United dressing room. At Chelsea, players acted professionally. They were punctual. They were never late to training. But at United, it happened almost every day. And that was from that Matic interview where I highlighted issues. But I'm going to see if I can find what they've said on McKenna as well. I found some things where the players had said stuff about McKenna, but I don't know if it's on my Twitter. I don't think it is. But I found stuff where the players had basically been saying that McKenna should be an academy coach as well. But like they literally called him a school teacher and an academy coach 2 years ago, the Man United players. If I can find that, I'll get that up quickly. Let me go to this. I'll show you this here. I've got something else to show you. Let's scroll down. Okay. Sources close to the Man United dressing room label the standard of coaching well below, and that Michael Carrick and McKenna. McKenna left for Ipswich. McKenna's told Rangnick he wants to leave for Ipswich. McKenna's seen as an academy coach by the United players. McKenna's doing such a good job. Rangnick obviously complained when McKenna left because Rangnick rated McKenna as well. Apparently, Kieran McKenna wanted Solskjaer to adopt a different style of play that was more attacking when he was at Manchester United as well, which is interesting. But if I can find it here, there we go. This is it. This sums up our players. This is what I wanted to show you. Man United players feel Kieran McKenna is dry and school teacherly in his delivery, and privately wondered how he had risen to such a position under Solskjaer. Our players. That McKenna who's doing well now. Like, that is ridiculous. I'm going to bookmark that for when the players next pee me off. That's ridiculous. Man, that sums up some of the attitude problems we've got at the club. Alice, what options are we looking at on the striker list? Sesko and Xerxes. Xerxes will be my first choice. Sesko will be my second choice. There's probably other names we're looking at we haven't been linked to yet as well. Southgate's not coming in. Do not worry about the Southgate rumours. He's not coming in. There's one common denominator sacking a gaffer after gaffer. Not good enough toxic squad. 100%. Alice, which players do you think played well yesterday? Anthony, Johnny Evans, Garnacho. I think there was like some decent. I think some players had decent spells. Like Mino had a decent spell, but I think throughout the 90 he struggled a little bit. I think Onana didn't have a bad game. I think Bruno Fernandes had good moments. I think other than the penalty, like Delo even had a decent game. Like the thing is, the only 3 players I think would say they had a good game was Garnacho, Anthony, and Johnny Evans. But I thought Delo had a decent game. I thought Bruno had some good moments. I think Højlund had a poor game. I think Delo ultimately made the mistake, so he did have a poor game. But Garnacho will be happiest, followed by Anthony, I'd say, followed by Johnny Evans, followed by Mino, followed by Onana, followed by Bruno. I think Casemiro was shocking. Maguire wasn't great. But Delo made a good play, but he made mistakes. It was a bit of a mess. Rashford had a crap game. Mount again had a poor game as well. It was a complete mess as well. The common denominator is the players under all these managers. 12 years of player power has led to this as momentum. Yeah, those that are Ten Hag out need to be careful what they wish for. If we get Southgate, things will get worse. This is the thing. Like, I know people that are massively Ten Hag out, but would you rather Ten Hag be our manager or we get Southgate? And we're not going to get Southgate realistically, but let's say Amorim goes to Liverpool, Nagelsmann goes to Bayern, and De Zerbi goes to Liverpool. That is Graham Potter as our next best option, because Thingy Majiggy isn't leaving Inter. So would you rather have Ten Hag, Graham Potter, or Southgate? If you're Ten Hag out, I think most of you would probably rather stick with Ten Hag. Now, I do want to show you something else, actually, because I do want to talk about another reason why I don't think INEOS will sack Ten Hag. So, obviously, Man United players reportedly devastated after the match. Laurie Whitwell did say this. He said that the idea that Ten Hag wants to be this all-powerful manager is not the case, and he understands there's a way of working with INEOS and would accept the head coach role. He'd accept sort of the demotion from manager to head coach. And the influence that he previously had, he felt the environment wasn't right and he needed to put himself there more. With the right people in, he'd be confident to accept head coach role, which would be interesting. So maybe Ten Hag's happy to realise that, you know what, I want to work under INEOS, so I'll happily just focus on football and let INEOS do the recruitment. I do want to say this on Ten Hag. Can INEOS afford to sack Ten Hag is the first question. That's going to be 10-15 million. Can we afford a replacement with Amorim maybe going Liverpool, Nagelsmann maybe going Bayern, and De Zerbi maybe going Barcelona? Is there actually a replacement out there that you're like, boom? Because Amorim's great, Nagelsmann's great, but I don't think they'll go to United. I think they'll go to other clubs. Is there a replacement out there where you're like, boom? Is it worth paying the money to sack Ten Hag and paying the money to bring someone else in when a lot of the good managers might go elsewhere because there's a lot of clubs looking for managers? Ratcliffe does know the environment's the biggest problem, and changing Ten Hag from manager to head coach is something he'll accept. He'll let INEOS have responsibility in other areas, and he'll just focus on the coaching, and INEOS will bring in coaches for him. INEOS will do recruitment. They'll put the right environment there, and he succeeded in the right environment at Ajax. And you also know that a lot of the players do like Ten Hag. And at the end of the day, when you look at the game, I think individual errors cost us versus Chelsea. I think it's a lot of media's jumping the gun saying that Ten Hag's going to be sacked and that INEOS have already made their decision to sack Ten Hag based off the fact that we lost yesterday. But as we beat Chelsea 3-2, I bet all those reports coming out saying INEOS have decided to sack Ten Hag would have been saying INEOS have decided to keep Ten Hag. I don't think anyone knows. I don't think anyone knows what the long-term plan is as well. I'd rather Erik Ten Hag than Southgate. I think most people was. Nick said he'd give Potter a chance. Well, I'd Graham Potter over Southgate any day of the week. INEOS have full authority on football operations, not Glazers, from now on, yes. But I think it's going to take 2 years for INEOS to actually turn around the big mess that the Glazers have caused. I'm not going to judge what INEOS do too much on the footballing side of things in the short term. It's going to be more in the long term. I'm going to judge the summer and the approach and how we sell and how we buy. But I'm not going to write off INEOS until we see sort of the 2-year, 3-year impact of them having sport and control. I don't think Zidane will ever come to United. Amorim worries me a bit. He might end up being brilliant. He might, and he's very likely to go to Liverpool as well. So yeah, Ashworth will push for Southgate because he'll be out of contract after the Euros and will cost nothing, a cheap option. But Ashworth and Omar Barada are proper people coming in. They're not financial Glazer people. They're proper people that know football. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Manchester United are going to do, but I think the new structure is really important. The new structure will not be fully at the club until maybe next year. It's going to take a good 2 years to really get the structure in and see the impact of that. I mean, we've got to remember, with Manchester United, things are horrible right now, but we've got to remember this is a long-term project under INEOS. We've got to, as hard as this sounds, and as horrible things are, we've got to be patient. We've got to understand, you know what, this is a long-term project under INEOS. Let's be patient. Let's wait for this. Let's wait for that, if you get what I'm saying. But listen, people, please do hit that like button and, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I do go live every single day talking all things United. I do 10-minute news videos where I just talk about the news, deep dive into all the news so you guys are up to date on all the news in 10 minutes. And then after my 10-minute news videos, I do sort of live streams where we discuss things, get you guys involved, get your thoughts involved in the chat as well. I do have to say, I thought the officials were shocking yesterday. I thought the officials were absolutely shocking. And I also thought that Gallagher was trying to foul Maino, which was an absolute joke multiple times, pushing him off the ball. What? Because he starts for you over England because he's better than you. I thought the official, I'm not making an excuse, but I thought the officials were an absolute disgrace. And I also think the penalties were soft. The amount of money, I just think the referee. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this video. Here, let me show you this video. Can I get this up here? Ready? Can you see this? Is this on your screen? I just think this is soft. Maybe it's just me being a biased United fan. But look at this. The low barely touches him. the low barely touches him. I'm sorry, I feel like there's barely anything in that. Maybe that's just me. I just feel like there's barely anything in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest. I think that was soft. I think that was soft, to be honest. But we can't just blame the referees. But I thought that was soft. Anyway, guys, please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I'm gonna end the live stream here. But I will be back tonight. So if you're subscribed, let's chat tonight about all things. And I'm sure a lot of news will come out between now and then that we'll get through in tonight's video. Thank you for watching. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time. Bye.